Namaste everyone. Thank you for joining in this video. So today I'll be taking up a topic which is not usually discussed or which is looked up as a taboo, and that is the failures of astrology. Where does astrology fail and what astrology cannot tell you? So that is something we need to discuss, okay? Because it's a big elephant in the room. Not everyone takes up this topic, but then as an astrologer, as a practicing astrologer who has been doing Vedic astrology for the last a decade as such, I can safely tell you that only 50% of the predictions that an astrologer will make is going to come true in your life. Okay. So there are certain, like every other field of knowledge, like every other Vidya, astrology also has its own limitations. And there is a cliche which says that astrology is perfect, the astrologer is not. So it's a partly true statement because the astrologer is human after all, and it's the nature of human to make mistakes. And that is the reason you have Ketu as one of the karakas of astrology, along with Sun and Jupiter, because Ketu represents your mistakes. And the same Ketu is also going to be there in the astrologer's chart. So the astrologer is also bound to make mistakes. But then there are certain areas where astrology fails to provide a concrete answer. And what are those areas we are going to look in this video? But before we go into the topic, kindly subscribe to the channel, like the content if you find it useful, and please share it with your friends and family if you think they are also going to benefit from this content. Okay, so astrology cannot tell you the following things. Number one, the most common question that everyone comes and asks at the consultation: who is going to be my spouse? Okay, that is something that astrology cannot tell you. So who will be your spouse? Okay, that is governed by a large number of factors. Okay, just looking at the seventh house or the seventh lord or the tenth lord is not going to give you a concrete answer. And I've seen several people coming to me and presenting two charts and asking, will I get married to this person? And this is something that astrology cannot tell, because marriage is a very karmic phenomenon, and it's your karma as well as the karma of the other person that decides together who will be your spouse. Who gets married to whom, is it going to be that particular person, is not astrology's realm. Of course you can do a prashna and see whether the marriage will happen, but then even prashna has its own limitation. Okay, however, what you can predict, or what astrology can predict, is the nature of the spouse, the quality of your relationship. That can of course be predicted. Okay, the second thing where astrology fails, the second area where astrology fails, is addressing the question of how much money you will make. So you cannot predict the amount of financial success you will have, because this is again purely dependent on Desh, Kal, and Patra. Desh means time, Kal means place, and Patra means circumstances, right? So, sorry, Desh means place, Kal means time, and Patra means circumstances. Really sorry. So, as an astrologer, I can predict if you will be successful in achieving financial success, but to what extent cannot be predicted. For example, say someone is in the field of software engineering. You can make a prediction that this person will make good money, but then a software engineer in the US makes much money as compared to a software engineer in India. Okay, so you cannot predict whether you will be, how much money or what amount of money you will be making. Okay, but then what you can predict is how many sources of income you have, whether you have multiple sources of income, whether you will earn money through inheritance. This can be predicted. Okay, then astrology cannot predict the number of children that you will have. Okay, again, this is also very dependent on Desh, Kal, and Patra. Okay, even in India, you look at the situation 50 years ago, people used to have a lot of children, right? And then you have now it is, hum do hamare do, we too, ours too. And China has a one-child policy, right? So this is a perfect example how, how Desh, Kal, Patra is very prominent on answering this question. Okay, so even if a couple has a yoga for say 20 children, It is actually Desh Kal Patra that will decide how many children one will have, right? So, for example, in some religion, many children are considered to be a blessing. Okay. And some religions, the Abrahamic religions, they regard that, having many children are a way to further their religion, right? So you can predict if a male or a female will have issues in having children. You can predict what relationship you'll have with your children. That can be predicted, but you cannot predict the number of children. Okay. Again, astrology cannot predict what job you'll exactly do. Okay. So because job is also dependent on Desh Kal Patra, right? So let's say someone has Jupiter in the 6th house. Jupiter, 6th house in the sign of Leo. So the prediction would be that the native can become a doctor. Okay. Or the native can be into religious activities, right? But then how exactly this Jupiter will manifest the job profile of the native will depend on Desh Kal Patra. Okay. So other factors include the profession of your parents. If someone's parents are already a doctor, the native has a high chance of getting into medicine or becoming a doctor, because such a native will always be influenced by the parents. Okay. So this manifestation of planets along with their significations is highly dependent on Desh Kal Patra. And as an astrologer, no one can have any say on it. Okay. But then whether you will do business or a job, whether you'll be more successful in a business or a job, whether you'll be having multiple streams of income, whether you will be doing something in partnership or independently, that can be decoded via astrology. But the profile of the job cannot be decoded. Okay. For example, let's say an astrologer predicts that you will be into teaching, but does teaching only include classroom teaching? No. Does teaching only include teaching in schools and colleges? No. Teaching can also be related to the field of astrology. Online counseling, online teaching, psychology, even being a tour agent is a kind of teaching, because you are making the tourists acquainted with a certain place. So this is how Desh Kal and Patra will play out. Then astrology cannot predict how much free will do you have. Of course, you can have a pointer by looking at the third house and the 11th house. But then whatever choices you make, that is again dependent on Desh Kal and Patra, your place, your time, and your circumstance. Okay, but we can certainly predict on where your focus is. For example, let's say someone has the sun in Gemini and the focus will completely be on communication. What opportunities will you get? Whether you are on the right path, that of course can be predicted via astrology. Okay. Astrology cannot solve your problems. Please remember this. Okay. It can only guide you through your tough times. It can help you make better choices, and it can also help you accept things which are not meant for you. Okay. It is meant to make you mentally strong, to let go of things and circumstances that are not meant for you. Okay. Astrology predictions cannot change your karma. You can change your karma by making better choices, because a choice is, of course, a matter of free will. And what is free will today will become your destiny tomorrow. So take astrology as a guiding force. Don't take astrology as the solution to all your problems. For solving problems, you, of course, need the grace of the God, the grace of the divine. And that can come with or without astrology as such. So that's all in this video. Please leave your valuable comments in the feedback section, and do let me know on what topics I should make other videos in the upcoming days. I'll see you soon in yet another video. Namaste. Om Gurave Namaha.